Esther Dyson, executive founder, Wellville. Welcome to Juicing with Gary.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's cut up a couple apples and a couple of our peppers. Just cut them right down in half. Just watch that finger, and you can just honestly, just give
Is
them one
your
more
insurance
slice.
up to date?
We are really good here at the property. Now, if you can give that apple a good hunk, just right in, yeah, that's it. Good, just like that. That's good enough for the apple. Good, good, good. We're using a mixture of both fruits and vegetables here so that we can catch not only all the nutrients, but all the flavors that come alive in all this. All right, let's turn on the juicer and let's begin. So let's just start by putting in the vegetables and the fruits. And some tomatoes, go ahead, yeah, good. And maybe some apples.
Now I see why you wear the apron.
Oh yeah, you need the apron. That's exactly.
This is going to be cool. Whoa.
Just go for it, Esther. Plumb in. That's it. Oh, you got them in. That's beautiful. And now, raspberries, my favorite. Aren't they delicious?
They are.
All right, right down. Oh, I got it right in the face. Yeah, good. Now, I've also done something special for you. I name every one of these juices. You know what I called this one for you? Because I asked you what you liked, you said berries. So I'm calling this one Strawberry Fields Forever. Won't you take me down? 'Cause we're going to Strawberry Fields. So this is yours, Esther Dyson's Strawberry
Forever.
Fields. Forever.
This is beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? Look at the colors. When in Las Vegas, you have to have a stir to keep your juice all stirred. So cheers.
Cheers.
Well, Esther, once again, welcome. And welcome to Las Vegas.
Thank you.
And we are delighted to have you here. I want to go back to get to know you a little bit, Esther. I know you personally a little bit. We've been together a few times. Talk to me about your history. Who's Esther?
Well, my parents are both scientists, and I was a pretty determined little girl. I left home when I was 15, after living in England for a year when I was 13. And then I went through college and became a reporter for Forbes. And that was really where I learned about business. Then I worked on Wall Street for 5 years, where I learned about finance, and I studied economics in college, but honestly I learned a lot more working for Forbes and then on Wall Street. I began to get more and more interested in healthcare, and then being a reporter who asked questions and trained in economics, thinking about value, and I began to ask, why are we spending so much money trying to fix people when it's too late, when it would be so much cheaper and so much better in every way to keep them healthy? I thought somebody just has to do something. They should do like an X Prize for health. They should take 5 small places that are where whatever you do will affect the community rather than get dissipated out because they're part of a much larger place. So you get this infectious, self-reinforcing critical density. And then they should just do something for 5 years and measure the impact. And I was going to give a talk about that at some industry event in May of 2013. Then I realized that's a terrible talk. Someone else should do something So without knowing it, I had already decided that was what I was going to do, so I announced it. And that's how it happened.
And that's the birth of Wellville.
Right. It was called Hiccup. It was 5 years. Now it's called Wellville. It's 10 years and so forth. But basically, it's that. It's 5 communities, and they're a demonstration of what everybody knows true. They're not an experiment, and we're not experimenting on people. We're helping them to scale stuff that they know is for real.
Well, Esther, the conversation's really going to heat up now because I'm excited to really dive into Wellville. So let's get rid of these jackets and get a little more comfortable.
That's great. Yes.
And,
thank you.
I want to talk about, you've made the decision. How did you put it all together?
Well, there are people who trade and they don't really care about what happens to the stock. People who invest are trying to build something that wouldn't exist without that investment. So in that sense, it's very much an investment. It's just not for financial return to me. It's very natural for an angel investor or venture capital investor to do this because you invest in something to create it rather than simply to make a profit as it grows with or without you. if all 5 communities are amazingly successful, that'll be totally wonderful. It's like having 5 children that are all, so there's a reason we're doing 5 and not just 1, partly to show that the idea is replicable, but it's not identical. And 5 different versions of the same idea is much more compelling than, if you do it just once, well, maybe they got lucky, or this place isn't like any other place, but the 5 Wellvilles are all pretty different, which is part of the point.
Can you tell me where they are? And tell me, how did you determine the 5 Wellvilles?
Okay, so after I announced it in 2013, I did the first smart thing, which was to go out and hire a CEO who would make sure I didn't just go off half-cocked somehow. And that was Rick Brush, whom you know, who used to be at Cigna. And together we decided to design an application so that communities could apply to be part of this. It was originally kind of a contest, and then it became almost more of a collaboration. But we thought about this long and hard, and it wasn't simply write us a letter. It was tell us about your community and its health rankings, and tell us what your collaboration is doing. You had to be under 100,000 people, and so forth and so on. And we put this out. We knew Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Rick knew lots of people in the health insurance business. So we got the word out. And much to our surprise, we got 42 applications. So we and a couple of our advisors collectively read all of them, which was quite a job. And we picked 10 of them to visit in the summer of 2014. And that was really my third great educational experience. The first was writing for Forbes, the second was training as a cosmonaut, and the third was that summer visiting 10 places around the US. The ultimate 5 are Clatsop County, Oregon, northwest of Portland, Lake County, California, just beyond north of Napa and Marin. It's kind of like the rich people go to the vineyards, and then the not so rich people start. Muskegon, Michigan, which is on the shores of Lake Michigan across from Milwaukee, and there's this beautiful lakeside community. North Hartford, Connecticut, which not coincidentally is near where Rick lives, and Spartanburg, South Carolina.
You bring up long-term, so you will support this for 10 years.
Right.
This is a 10-year project.
Yes.
And that's quite an investment. So, and what year did it activate? 2014?
Yeah, it's actually beginning of 2015 to end of 2024. I mean, we were pregnant for a while, so to speak.
Can you talk about some of the hopes, the outcomes, the measurements, the goals?
I mean, people ask, so how many people have signed up? And the answer is, we want it to be that you don't have to sign up. It's like the right choices are the easy choices, instead of now the right choices are the hard choices or the impossible choices. And we want the norms to change, not people to sign up to break the norms. And that's why you need that density, and you need, you get the first people who are kind of individual signer-ups in some sense, but then suddenly in the community, people no longer think you need to take your car to go down the road for half a mile to get something, or the kids bike to school, and the people eat fresh fruit from the market instead of going to the cupcake stand.
So what does this mean system-wide?
Well, in a sense, what we're trying to do at Wellville is simulate what it would be like if we had, on a national level, either single payer or a much broader, if we invested in children instead of just sort of said, we'll wait until you're grown up, then we'll either sell you insurance, or if you're really poor, we'll give you Medicaid and we'll give you kind of bad health care. But what we really need in some form or another is for society at large, in whatever way it wants to invest in everything from prenatal and postnatal care, so you have that infant that is secure. And then you have early childhood education, you have parents who have time or funded education for their kids so that they're ready for school, and you have a good school system, you wouldn't need half of this expensive health care at the other end, because you would have people that were just fundamentally healthier. And that's, in a sense, what we're trying to do in Wellville, give a model of what it looks like. Not when you have the state controlling everything, but when you have society investing at a time when it's cheaper and more effective in human minds and bodies.
It's all about caring for your community, because it is our community, and that community will then care for us. So,
And it's hard-headed business people saying, this makes sense, because this is going to give me more productive employees and happier customers. David Hoke from Walmart loves to say, when this Walmart employee goes outside and comes back in as a customer, it's the same person, and we want them both to be happy and productive. And
just like we said earlier, that when you pour into the community will pour back into you. So Esther, you so quickly just mentioned about being a cosmonaut. I got to stop and understand that. Tell us.
So I've always been fascinated by space travel because of my parents. And I spent 6 months training as a cosmonaut in Star City outside of Russia. The food in Star City was really awful. And I never went to dinner after the first 2 nights. I was lucky enough that there were a bunch of American NASA astronauts who lived in a cottage, and they would invite me to dinner, and they would cook dinner. It was sort of like a big family dinner, and it was like a firehouse or something. It was just great. And then we went to Baikonur, which is where the cosmonauts actually launch from. So I was on the backup team. There were 3 of us and 3 people who were actually going to go up. So we were special. We were the purpose of this whole place. And the 3 guys who were going up, there was some chance they wouldn't come back. So there's also this sense of, well, let's give them a little paradise before they go. So the food there was entirely different. It was cooked by these women who felt that what they were doing was important, that the people they were serving were important. And every dish, they would come out bringing their dishes as if it was a birthday party or something, with love, presenting this tuna casserole or vegetable pie or whatever. All of us gained 5 pounds or something just because the food was worth eating and served with love.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I am overwhelmed with who you are, Esther. And I'd just like to thank you for taking time and telling your story today. So we wish you the greatest success, and thanks for juicing with Gary. Cheers.
Cheers. Juiced with love.